Good Monday evening to all. Hope you are all doing well. You know, many people throughout the Jewish world every single day study one page of Talmud, the Daf Yomi. And it's an incredible accomplishment where there's a commitment day in, day out to study the text that gives us life, meaning, and connects us to the higher being. Right now, the Jewish world is studying tractate Psachim. It relates to the laws of Pesach. So on the surface, it probably sounds like an easier section of the Talmud because after all, we are quite familiar with Pesach. We're familiar with the laws of burning the chametz, of eating the matzah. But there is one section of some 6-7 folios that is one of the far more complex sections of the Talmud. It's a section that's known as Chanina Sgan HaKohanim, and it relates to the laws of purity and impurity. And it's complex. These are things that really do not apply so much today. So there's a little bit of an exercise to understand it and appreciate it. And those who are committed to put that energy into it. Now, we actually know the earliest source of a discussion where a halakhic question was asked regarding the Kohanim's knowledge of this field. There's a book in Tanakh called the book of Haggai. The prophet Haggai, who lives in the beginning of the Second Temple period, was told by the Almighty to ask the Kohanim returning to Jerusalem, returning to the Bet HaMikdash for the Second Temple period, he was told to ask them a halachic question. So this appears in chapter 2 of the book of Haggai. And we are told that it was Be'isrim ve'arba latchi'i, on the 24th day of the 9th month. And the Almighty says to Haggai, Sha'alna et kohanim Torah. Ask them a halachic question. In other words, if they want to go ahead and perform the service in the temple, they have to be sure that it retains the status of tahara, of purity. So let's see how familiar they are. And if, let's say, you have basar kodesh, you have meat, right? Different ways to understand this word kodesh, but you have meat which touched the garment, which touched some bread, and then it went ahead and touched the stew and touched some wine. What is the status? So the complexities of this section of the Talmud were already asked to the Kohanim many centuries before the Talmud. And when Haggai asks them, he makes it clear to the Kohanim, listen here, you have a responsibility to do your part, to really study in depth this section, because after all, you are working in the Bet HaMikdash. Be sure it is done right. And number 2, he tells them that you should know, when the people of Israel commit themselves to the law and perform the service the way they should, there is a blessing on all the physical, right? That things you would expect in the past to yield X will yield much more. I promise you a blessing if you go ahead and do your part, committing yourself to the law. Now, the message that's relevant for us today is that the study of Torah is important because, number 1, when we study, we know how to practice our Judaism. Number 2, studying Torah connects us to God, and as a result, we merit blessings from the Almighty. So therefore, the journey that the Kohanim go through and the questions asked by Haggai are really to inspire us as well. Be sure to do your part, to be knowledgeable of the laws of Torah, right? Know your tradition, it's yours. It stimulates, right? It elevates. It is really wonderful. But what's also fascinating here is that the question asked by Haggai and his expectation that we put effort into the study of Torah was actually on the 24th of the month of Kislev, Erev Chanukah. And Erev Chanukah, according to some commentators, was when the Hashmonaim entered and found that little bit of oil. So it appears that this time when we enter into Hanukkah is not just celebrating what the Almighty did for us, but rather celebrating what we are doing, committing ourselves to our tradition. And it is a time where we increase our own study of Torah, commitment to Torah, and appreciation of this wonderful text that gives us meaning, gives us insight, and purpose and direction in life. All that on the 24th of Kislev. What a better way, and perhaps the greatest of all Hanukkah gifts, are the ones we give ourselves to continue with that commitment. When we do good, we merit good, and Bezrat Hashem, let's keep up our good work and do our part. And as a result, just as Haggai was told, a lot of good is waiting the people of Israel with a functional temple the way it should be done. So too, with our commitment, we're going to merit a lot of good very, very soon. It should be a great evening. Bye-bye.